What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Google's gender-neutral controller for their new Google Stadia console, gaming device, whatever you want to call it. Now, this was brought to my attention by a viewer here on the channel, and when I saw this, I was shocked because I've never heard of a gender-neutral controller in my life. To my knowledge, controllers don't have genders. You know, they're not really living beings. I was quickly informed that they're not identifying the controller's gender, which is good because you can't really just be labeling genders onto things, so it is 2019, but apparently Google is using the gender-neutral controller stance as just like this really weak tactic to sell more consoles. It's a really patronizing way of selling more consoles, and in reality, all it does is make the whole gender-neutral stance, that whole argument, that whole side of society look ridiculous because now Google is using it to market a video game controller, and, you know, they're actually trying to argue for, like, the sake of living things, and Google is trying to sell you, essentially, a video game console with this bullshit. So that's what we'll call it, because, I mean, let's just call it as we see it. There is no such thing, really, as a gender-neutral controller, so let's go ahead and get into this whole thing. They did make a video that we're going to go over talking about the inspiration behind the controller and everything, but in the lead-up to the launch of Google's new Stadia console, members of the Stadia team promoted the gender-neutral quality of the system's controller as a selling point for the flagship hardware. In an interview with CNN Business, Google VP and head of Stadia Phil Harrison boasted that the Stadia controller's design was different from some of our historical competitors in the controller space who have been a bit more masculine and a bit more mechanical in their approach. Now I'm going to show you this controller, and you can see it for yourself, and you can tell me what you think. What is gender neutral about this? What the fuck is a gender neutral controller? What is so different about this controller? It has essentially the same exact layout and everything as every other controller on the market. It's got the D-pad, the thumbsticks, it has the buttons on the top of the controller, midsection buttons, a power button in the center for the home menu, assuming the power for the controller as well. The 4 buttons on the right, it's essentially the same exact controller as every single controller that's been made since I've been alive, but they're doing something different here, folks. This is the most different controller you can see. It's gender neutral, which I'm confused on how that is. So, the controller is offered in 3 different colors: white, black, and a light green wasabi color, chosen for its universal appeal according to Google Director of Design Isabel Olson, who found that both men and women gravitated towards this color. She praised the fact that it ended up being super gender neutral, but still really expressive, as it's really hard to find colors like that, which... wow, what? Okay, so the gender-neutral design of the controller is its colors, but if you know anything about video games, controllers have been colored more than black and white since I can remember. I don't think I've ever seen any, like, console launch, and, like, a few years into the console, there wasn't, like, colored designs for controllers. Maybe within, like, the first few months, they just have, like, the black and white controller, but eventually, like, let's take a look at just the PlayStation 4 controllers. And as you can see, you know, the color selection is pretty goddamn good. They have camouflage patterns, they have the see-through controllers, they've got blues, reds, silvers, greens, oranges, they got the black, white, gold, wave blue, they have everything you need. And then they just launched 4 brand new ones: the red camouflage, the electric purple, the titanium blue, and the rose gold. Infinitely more customization with your controllers through DualShock controllers for the PlayStation 4, but Google is doing it so much differently than the competition. They are so gender neutral with their design because they have a wasabi color. But yet PlayStation has different patterns, colors, designs, and everything for literally anyone to choose from. Here's a look at some of the Xbox controllers that they have listed on their website. You know, the customization on these is pretty good, you know. They only have pretty much the same exact colors as PlayStation, if not even more, because of the different patterns and textures and everything that they have. Plus, Xbox has something called the Design Lab, where you can literally just design your own controller with a bunch of different textures, patterns, and colors. Pretty much any controller that you want. And they even have this for the NFL, so you can make one for your favorite football team. But yeah, Google's doing it differently, guys, because they have a wasabi colored controller that's gender neutral. I don't really understand the whole point. This is a really weak marketing tactic, if you ask me. But let's take a look at this video that they're using, because it's gonna be good, I'm sure.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
Nice to meet you. Come on in.
All right.
When I go to these really nice kitchens, they all have these simple knives. Like, none of them look like the grocery store knives, with all the grips and details. It's really uncomfortable if you rotate your hand around. The reason why most professional kitchens have knives like this is you can use it in many ways.
Okay, what is this? Is this Hell's Kitchen, or are we learning about the new Stadia controller, right? We're 30 seconds in almost of a minute and 20-second long video, and we're learning about different knives and why the handles are different. What? Google is knocking it out of the park with this.
So that was a starting point for the controller. We literally took a knife handle and we bent it. It's like, oh, like, we're on to something. Yeah.
If you based your whole controller's design off of a knife handle, I gotta say, that sounds like a pretty uncomfortable controller to handle. Now, I don't own a Stadia, thankfully. I actually waited until the day one reviews came out, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But yeah, maybe you should have looked at some of the most successful controller designs of all time and tried to morph the best controller design possible out of something like that. That probably would have been something beneficial, but apparently the steak knife in your kitchen is what Google would use as the base for a video game controller.
Okay. So from there, that one ancestor basically had hundreds and hundreds of kids. I kept building on it patiently until it became that. And it's made for small and large hands, so it's super usable for large segment of gamers that aren't always appreciated.
Jason was very, very insistent that we have a non-visible screw design.
Super important to give it that nice, clean look instead of punching a bunch of holes onto the back.
That was one of the biggest challenges for product design. We think it's really worth it. It makes it very comfortable in the hand and seamless and googly.
Oh, wow. That was impressive. Good work.
Man, one of the biggest things that we focused on with this controller was designing it to, have the same grip as steak knives, and also we focused on making sure that the screws were not visible, because when I look back at all the greatest controllers in gaming history, I'm just like, man, if they didn't have these screws visible, this would be the greatest controller of all time. When I'm holding a controller, I need to make sure that I cannot see the screws. It's not about how the controller feels in my hands. I have pretty decent-sized hands. But what I find weird is that Google is so focused in on the selling point is the controller for this console. And well, when you look at the reviews for this console, it really shows that they focus too much on the controller, because Google Stadia is a total flop out of the box or whatever it comes in, because it's just not doing well. I'm going to show you some side-by-side screenshots from a user on Twitter. I have their @ on the screen as well. It is Nidomata, I think. I probably butchered the pronunciation there, but yeah, go ahead and take a look at these Red Dead Redemption 2 screenshots from Google Stadia compared to the Xbox One X. So, they were so focused on making the controller gender neutral with the color design and the size of the controller, which, personally speaking, I know plenty of women who've played video games, and I've never heard them be like, man, the controller is just impossible for me to grasp. Never heard that. I've never heard that being a problem, but maybe it is. I have no idea. I mean, I personally can't play with the Joy-Cons on a Nintendo Switch. I have to play with the Pro Controller, but yeah, you look at these and wow, look how great that looks. This piece of technology that just came out that, is supposed to be running this game with PC graphics, uses 44% of the pixel count, is 80% faster than the Xbox One X, and only runs at 1440p and 30 FPS, but it looks like this. Now, let me go ahead and say, on PC, you can play a game at 1440p, and it will look fine. It'll actually look really good. You know what I'm saying? That's fine. That's not a big deal. But this just looks like dog shit. I think we can all agree. So Stadia was so focused on making these controllers not have screws and have one color that's not black and white, so it's gender neutral, that the games look worse than their console counterparts. There's essentially no exclusives. I think there's 3 exclusives or something like that. There's no good exclusives. Let's just say that. There's nothing worth playing. You get a PS4, you got God of War and all the other good games and shit that come out on a PlayStation. Same thing can be said for Xbox. They have some decent exclusives as well. The selection of games on there is not that good. It's definitely not anything that's going to compete with any other gaming platform. It's barely less expensive over time because you still have to buy every game that you're playing, along with paying for a membership, along with paying $70 for that controller. The product is completely connection dependent. If you have no internet connection, you're not playing your Stadia. That's not the case with my PC, my Xbox, my Switch, my PS4, none of that. None of that is really an issue. The input lag is being reported by a lot of people as being horrible. Some people say it's not that bad, but then again, with things like connection and stuff like that being the case, you're going to have a lot of variation. So they completely botched the actual product that people care about so they could make a color. and they could make steak knife handles on a controller. You're making a gaming product, and you didn't even focus on the gaming aspects. I was gonna make this a video for like the gaming channel, but then once this came across that this was what they were focused on with the console, it was like, you know, this might be main channel content, but it's not even like a sensical decision. Like, there's some marketing practices that I guess aren't directly related to the gaming that I guess you can go with, but this is just not one of them. I mean, these dudes launched a goddamn controller with 3 different colors and all of a sudden thought that they revolutionized video game controllers. I don't know who they think they are, but it definitely ain't no Xbox 360 controller. It definitely isn't, it's not no GameCube controller. It's not an N64 controller. It's not a DualShock 4. I think the DualShock 4 is fine personally. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but anyways, that's gonna be it for the video, you guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on my channel, follow me over on Twitter at @SubToOptimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. It's a surefire way to get notifications of all my newest content. Join the Discord down below, lots of great things going on down there as well. Thank you to my channel members, your support helps my channel tremendously, and until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, making gender-neutral videos, and signing out.